don't normally listen to this person. I have periodically here and there, and I was listening to Seven Grains of Salt, and she was talking about something having to do with what I surmise is this particular video at Enter the Stars. Man, just be careful who you listen to. Not everything that calls itself a Christian really is. Just be careful. Doesn't mean that God can't work with people and draw them in, but just be careful. But anyhow, there's just a few little things here that I wanted to share with you. And so I have hyper focused on Swally's, I guess this person's name is, comment. And I will just let you read that for yourself. Hide and seek, something's hiding in not your shot glass, although shot's the right word. Something's hiding in your shot. You know, when you drink Jägermeister. Totally not when you drink Jägermeister. They are talking about that good old Trojan horse that Jägermeister commercials are running with. And let me hold on a second.
Trojan Horse.
Yeah. So, a person or thing intended secretly to undermine or bring about the downfall of an enemy or opponent. Drink that in for a minute. And he has invited audience participation in the chat room, which I actually thought was pretty cool, for his mandatory S's and Jägermeister Sweet Tooth. And I don't know what this show is that he's talking about because I don't watch Netflix anymore. And he's talking about a lot of stuff in here. It's a 49-minute video, but what's really interesting is as you're watching him discussing this video, and it goes actually right along with what I have been telling you, what I think is going on, which is not exactly the same thing as what Tom Griffin here thinks. But you have these, alcohol makers and other corporations and whatnot. Specifically in this video, it's talking about Jägermeister, using their commercials, to sell alcohol, but really to cast these spells, to put this information out there. It's, fodder so that they can have a commercial to sell their liquor. Yeah, I get that. But it's more than that. It's putting forth their agenda in this really childish, stupid, underhanded way. When somebody writes the script out and they bring the actors in and then they're like, this is what you're going to do, so go ahead and do it. I don't know if the actors have the slightest clue what they're sort of performing for you. My sense is probably most do not. But it is pretty interesting as you delve into parts of this video. I really don't want to go over the whole thing. I will leave you a link if you want to go check into the whole thing. But it's really interesting how he's talking about this Jaeger bomb. Jaeger bomb, a shot, because they're going to be talking about the shots of the Jaeger bomb, where I guess you take a shot glass of Jaeger and then you drop that into some other kind of alcohol. I don't know what. And that's a Jägermeister bomb. Bomb is the right word here. Yes. What have I been saying over and over and over that I think something, a time bomb is being planted in your, and I've been just saying cereal, but I'm totally not talking about cereal. Bubby. If by cereal, I mean you, for those who are following along with the agenda. So I will back this up so that you're getting more out of it so that you can kind of hear what he's talking about. But what's interesting is that this really creepy, weird Jägermeister commercial has this really ceremonial, occult ritual, eyes wide shut weirdness going on. And the people are kind of drawing this out a little bit at a time. And they've been talking about the nanoparticles, these lipids, this fat that is part and parcel of getting their main goal into your cells. Yes. Look at what this person says. Putting the thing into a strange liquid. Yes. It is funny because they're like kind of slowly drawing it out. Shot glasses. Shot. Let me see. What other kind of shot do we know about? Well, I don't know. A Jägermeister Trojan Horse shot. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say in this psychopath commie can't talk about anything without playing ridiculous games. Yes, demonic witches. Yes. Ritual circle. Mixing, tainting. Oh, you know it. This rebellion, this witchcraft, this deception that is going on. They're lying to people so that they can have this outcome. Interesting. To give a big giant blood sacrifice to that rotten angel that belongs in hell, and he's going there. He's just not there yet. Give it time. And that must be like the down payment that they put on the planet to get their NW, that last letter. Give that much of a sacrifice to who. That's a lot of people. That fourth horseman of the apocalypse that we've been talking about. This person here, Brit Spit. What's that saying? I don't know. Jaeger means hunter in German, and they've been discussing Germany here. They've been saying that something about Germany being cold, and of course, you're kind of thinking back to, oh, what was that wonderful thing? Not wonderful. Not. I'm being silly here. That Germany was so well known for doing that they should have never done. And by the way, that very occasion, did you know that Mr. Fauci just got awarded? Gotta find it. I'm not spelling it right. He got awarded some weird, yes, award from a Holocaust remembrance group. That's weird. Why? He's just involved in everything nefarious, isn't he? Like, can you read between the lines? Holocaust? Hmm. He got $1 million? That's how much you're worth. $1 million. Do you know how he gained his fame? Do you know that according to the research that I did, he coined the AIDS for autoimmune blah blah blah. He had a lot of background in figuring out that there was this random HIV on the loose. We don't know where it came from. We'll just blame it on God. Everything's God's fault. He has an extensive background in knowing exactly how the eye system works and how to just completely decimate it. See if I can find that article for you. Yeah, I just popped in, you know who, in HIV research named AIDS, and oh my word, look. He reflects on 40 years of HIV AIDS research. This dude has a huge understanding of how to destroy the eye system inside of you. Gee, I wonder, could that have something to do with the Trojan Horse that's featured in Casey's Jägermeister commercial? You'll need to think about these things. I'm so limited in what I can say. I guess I'm just going to pop in about here.
I saw it in it. Let's go back to it. What you're also seeing here, let's see here. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Let's play it back. As this goes around and drops in, you are seeing the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail.
Maybe.
Think of it as like an infinity symbol. The Ouroboros.
Well, okay, that may be the case, but what you're actually seeing here in this Jägermeister commercial is this larger glass of alcohol on the outer rim. And then you have the shot glasses of the Jägermeister bomb, Jägermeister time bomb, that are sitting on the top here, and then they start falling into the larger glass of alcohol to create this whatever signature drink. Jägermeister time bomb.
Can you see it now? It's an Ouroboros eating its tail. And in the center, of course, is the Jaeger bottle. So, but all of you guys are correct. So thanks for all that additional. See, I don't know all the answers. You guys are way smarter than me. You might not have a YouTube channel, but that's why I try to involve you guys so we can all get the most we can out of these decodes, because there's so many more parts to this. Now, let's go on to this next Jaeger ad. This one's pretty obvious, because what you have here is the Trojan Horse infiltration aspect.
When he first said that, I was all like, that's not a horse, that's a stag. And I remember listening to another gentleman that was talking about the stag, the hunter, Sir Nunos, Nimrod, delving back into Babel 1, and now we're, coming full circle all the way around again for Babel 2.0, connecting the world together, building back together, all that stuff, which I want nothing to do with. But anyhow, so at first I was like, no, that's a stag. But it's weird because he's right. It really is a Trojan horse, but it's like a Trojan horse that's disguised looking like a stag, the hunter. Who was the mighty hunter before the Lord? Nimrod, the very first archetype, and a real person of the Antichrist.
So let's back this up. So they wheel this quote-unquote artwork into this, what appears to be a museum. And of course, out of this thing comes these people, and they start this like a rave party. Now that was Saran Wrap.
Did the music just say "We Are One"? That's what it sounded like to me.
And they pull out the Jaeger, of course. pull out, the shots, and there they go, right? So what I saw in this ad was the infiltration aspect. The enemy gets in with a trick, does he not? He poses as some kind of gift to get in.
Yes. And the Lord said, "Let no man deceive you," which we've talked about a million times in all of the synoptic gospels. He said that when his disciples at that time were asking him, when is all this stuff going to happen, this bad stuff? Yeah, he was talking about 70 AD and Luke for a little bit, but every single answer to that question, he begins with this great deception. And it is indisputable that a great global deception began for everybody on 3/11/2020, and we talked about how 3 times 11 is 33, and that's someone's calling card, that special number. And all of these Luciferian worshipers are all so interested in getting that Trojan horse into that thing in your chicken wing that we've talked about. And a lot more could be said about that, but I just kind of wanted to highlight really quick here in this video that in this commercial they're basically saying the same thing. And it's really interesting, as I said, to watch and pay attention to what these people are talking about here on the side. Man, there's trouble coming.
Inside the city walls. We've all seen the films. We saw one of the films that I saw was Troy, and they show the Trojan Horse as well. And what the enemy does is he injects himself behind the walls, unaware to the victims.
Unaware.
Does this sound familiar?
To the victims.
To me, this is about the hybridization injected into humanity, unaware. We're not sure how the enemy got behind the walls. We know on this channel how they're getting behind the walls, but a lot of people don't understand this. They don't understand the prophecy of Daniel about steel being mixed with watery clay.
Oh, so this is where I would differ with people. I would not even be worrying about the mark of the you-know-who at this point, because I don't think that's what's going on at all. I think that there is an application for that later, 3.5 years in. What is the very first judgment that the angel in Revelation 14 says, you go and get it? What's the very first thing that happens right after that? People go and they get it anyhow. The first bowl of these nasty, wicked, gross, disgusting head to toe. I assume they're head to toe. I mean, just the wrath of God poured out. No mercy. Disgusting, pussy, gross sores. So that tells you that in time and space, that's happening 3.5 years into the tribulation. You can go read Revelation, figure that out. And yes, I agree. It has everything in the world to do with this future intent of Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, especially 2. The mixing of the AI, robotics, super intelligence, whatever you want to call it, into human flesh. I get that. I mean, these transhumanists for the Great Reset, that's what they want. And Klaus has been so creepy about talking about using nanotechnology and using these different things to set us up for that, putting chips in us and combining biology and technology and so on and so forth. I get that. But remember, before any of that stuff comes into being, you have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for a reason. And it just seems like a lot of people are overhyping the timing of the mark of the you-know-who right now, when they should be paying attention to the setup coming for the 4 seals and how a quarter of the earth. Can you imagine that? A quarter of the earth. That would be like the equivalent of the population of India, 1 billion people, and China, 1 billion people. Just for example. Just gone. Their demise having been orchestrated. And of course, there's this big push from all these sweet, kind, loving Luciferians who care more about the earth than you do, and they're cramming this climate change planetary emergency down your throat now that they've, put everybody on this big giant brake, and they're steering the steering wheel of existence here. And much more could be said about that, but we've already discussed that in length, many other videos. They're getting this thing set up for a big giant sacrifice. That this fits in with their Agenda 21, 20, 30 goals. If you've listened and studied over the years about that, and they really do think it is a good and righteous thing in their twisted theology to put down a bunch of people. They think it's good, whereas you and I would go, no, that's morally evil to mass murder that many people. They think it's good because they're twisted. They invert everything. And then apparently crappy alcohol commercials then help to sort of walk out these ideas in these party scene Trojan Jägermeister time bomb shots for your ignorance. Awareness.
But the two shall not cleave. Now, we're going to play this next ad here in slow motion, because there are tattoos or marks, right? Tattoos or marks. They create a motion picture. And what you're going to see here next are like snakes and owls. Now this one is titled Hunt or Be Hunted. And that, of course, dovetails right in with St. Hubertus, the patron saint of hunting. But there's more to this, as you will see in the clip here. Let's back this up a little bit. So there you see the moon. This is very cryptic here. He's going into a tattoo artist. Tattoo artist then puts these moving tattoos. They're in motion. I'm going to put this in slow motion here so you guys can see this.
I remember this
very clearly. Turning the sound off there because it's in slow motion. Now again, you're going to see the Ouroboros, just like the ring of shot glasses pouring in. It all starts with an Ouroboros, his design. See, there you go. There it is right there. Now you know I'm not making up what I saw in the other one about the shot glasses, because he just showed you the Ouroboros right there.
Yeah, I remember this video from a long time ago. Again, he wants you to hyper focus on the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast is what I think he's saying here. And his wingman in the chat is kind of always focusing on that, but I think that there is an immediate application of Mr. Fauci's wonderful plan to completely hose your cereal. And by cereal, I mean the I of HI. And then that other letter, HI. And people are later on going to be exposed to the pathogen, the bio whip on. And you're going to get really, 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 really not sleepy. Super sick. That's what's going on. That's what I think is going on. I think that's the trick. The more I study it. Oh, and all the experts talking about it, they're so excited. It's so hard to say everything that I want to say in this communist control environment on good old UT. Okay, I also wanted to highlight this person's comment. I don't know how to pronounce that. We're just going to call him E. Their religion is nature itself. killing and theft is permitted in nature. The weak, I think you should say, are the meal of the strong. That is exactly what I got out of the religious underpinnings and philosophy from Mr. Child's 5 hour and 15 minute piece that he did on which can be found at Vigilant Citizen very easily, or anyhow, that's a good site. He was discussing that Satanism and Freemasonry were absolutely identical. That's the big secret. If the Freemasons are the Satanists, and that their religion is nature. And I was also listening to this other guy from the Church of Satan, I think he was, that A Call from Uprising had on years ago. Sally Jesse Raphael had him on, and he had an opportunity to really start opening his mouth and discussing that, he and their philosophy thought that helping the weak was ugly and despicable. So where you and I would think that helping somebody in need is kind and loving and good, nope, not to them. And so they love the slaughter, and they love the survival of the fittest and all that kind of stuff. And now they are going to help this. I don't believe in evolution. I think it's nonsense. But from what they say, they're going to help evolution along, give it a little push. And if they need to use a little deception to do that and hide behind nature and blame it on God, oh no, this big, nasty, mean thing I'm not allowed to criticize, it just started killing people off. Yeah. And it's kind of doing a lousy job because in my town, I'm not seeing anything different. Nothing. It's just people that are already immunocompromised, elderly, and whatnot. That's the normative of what happens, life and death. I'm not really seeing anything else. Then they're, pushing this narrative, which I have no idea what to think about it. I really don't. That it was bioengineered in China. I don't know. And then Fauci's all connected with that. I don't know. I have no idea. But I just really think that the bigger threat here is that thing they want to put in your chicken wing, that science cocoon, and getting you all fixed up. Getting that. And then they put Band-Aids. Have you seen that? They put Band-Aids in the shape of a V for the fifth age. They don't like you.
If not you, that's a wolf probably. Lupercalia again, St. Hubertus, who? If not you, who? Surrounded by four of these wolves, pack of wolves. Own it. Now I'm going to tie all this in together in just a second here, and you're going to see the clown connection to this. It's the flaming hair. And
He goes into a lot of other stuff that I don't really know what to think about.
Say the flaming hair. I would have a hard time looking it up.
I agree with that. I think that is what is being said. Just do it. Just take it. Just do it. I think the ones in the shape of the V, fifth age, are the most interesting to me. It kind of started with this whole thing that I'm not allowed to criticize, and then it parlayed over to this admission of a great reset. And now they're pushing the climate thing angle really, really hard. Earlier today, A Call for an Uprising highlighted that there was some really weird, creepy, satanic, red-garbed women, women, whatever they were, I don't know, at that Cornwall thing that the G7 were just at. And yeah, they want their fifth age. They want to knock down a quarter of the planet so that nature can get rid of useless eaters, and they can have their fifth age. They can have their golden age. False false men as, men as false gods, rather. So here's one of the examples. To me, this just screams of the forthcoming anti-church Babylonian horror of the entire planet and rebellion and witchcraft with the bloodlust that you see in Revelation 17. And they love their blood. That apparently is a big currency to the devil. Yeah, these are supposedly just some political activists. And they're doing that stuff, walking creepy like that in front of these people's children at the beach. And nobody says anything. The whole beach would have been hearing the gospel. Did they take it down? I wonder if they took it down. This may have been taken down now. I'm not quite sure. But anyhow. See, these people don't care about humans. They care about nature. And, of course, they're not willing to have their lives cut down. They want your lives cut down. And that really hit me pretty powerful, too. Checkmate. Isn't checkmate what you say at the end of the game of chess when you've won? Am I wrong on that? Checkmate? Isn't there like a sense of we won?
It's what you say at the end, towards the end of the chess game, to get your opponent to give up and say you've won. So it's not just announcing that you've won. It's kind of like browbeating your opponent into admitting that you've won.
Oh, okay. And if what I am surmising is accurate and correct, and you should be finding out pretty soon, if something has been Trojan horse time bomb planted inside the immuno cereal, not cereal, it feels to me like these pagan psychopaths are saying, ha ha, checkmate, ha ha, we fooled you. Do you see what I'm saying? Red cloaked people. Can you just believe that they were out walking around like that around those children, walking all slow and weird? That little girl was getting worried too. Man, I would have been up in like 2 seconds, and I would have had to really use the fruit of the spirit, self control. This is Boris Johnson's dad. And I don't know why homegirl is bent down in front of his junk. Like, what's up with this? And I don't know why they're in a circle. Ritual circle. Paganism. I told you, I warned you a long time ago. The communist, red, pagan, earth worshipping, green, psychopath, transhumanist, green gospel, climate change, checkmate. They are taking over the planet. Now, these people are just little foot soldiers, but it is really the people in positions of power and authority. And some people wonder if there wasn't some type of sacrifice there in that area. I don't know. That's what he's talking about here, the rabbit hole. I don't know. But we found out yesterday that cornhole had everything in the world to do with the Celtics. And they were pagans. We have pagans taking over the earth that are communists, that are psychopaths, that are in control of all the technology, and they want to get stuff in you because while they're gonna bump a quarter of you off, what about the rest of you? They have plans for you. Slavery. One of these days we'll have to do a video going over ESGs. Boy, those are fun. You will comply. Has everything in the world to do. We all bundle. That's right. I don't want their bundle. I don't want your time bomb. Leave me and my kids alone and my hubby. Anyhow, the company culture, everything that's coming into being is this oneness of thought, of behavior, of the satanic Luciferian set of belief systems. And as you've kind of seen, everything and its grandma wanting to sell you something and doing it in Rainbow Mafia Month, that's a little foretaste of it, right? But you're not going to have a choice. You either comply, you say what we want, you do what we want, you parrot out what we want you to say, or you're not going to have a job. You're not going to have money. You're not going to have a place to live. This is like Chinese red communism on steroids. This is going to be so vile. And it's setting up now. And there's very little time to escape. We'll see if October 10th isn't going to be a special day. Bye-bye. That kind of a day. We'll just have to wait and see if the Lord is going to fulfill that. Want to see this one more time? The audio's off. Is that not creepy? See, their arms are raised to the heavens, walking creepily. Look, honey, the kind satanic Luciferian nutbags on the beach.
Weird fuckers walking down the beach in a red fucking dress.
Oh, naughty words.
Do you know how to censor that?
I don't know. Anyhow, the guy on the beach was really, really upset. I forgot that he was cussing on it. Sorry. But yeah, the climate people, they want blood. For seal. Setting you up. Want their fifth age. Of course, the dancing. What? This doesn't make sense. Jefferson doctors use viral dance to send an important message. Hey, when you're stressed out, when the world's being plummeted and plunged into blood from the thing I'm not allowed to criticize, you just need to dance. This is ridiculous.
To send this message. Love it. The video, the staff.
Yeah, because while there is this massive panic being manufactured, you just really need to take time out from that extremely overworked, stressful environment at the hospital and dance. Yeah, the dancing. Shiva, the false Hindu deity of the Lord of the Dance, that's in front of the WHO people, the World Health Organization, who are pushing this whole thing with the lovely Luciferian climate change, Nazi, green, communist, psychopath, evil bad guys. I'm sure that they have your best interests at heart. I'll show you that WHO picture in a minute when they're sitting in front of that big, huge, giant destroyer Shiva. But that's what it's called. Get rid of the old, start the new. It all fits in. Lord of the Left. Oh, okay. Yeah, Lord Shiva. Not my Lord. Destroys these qualities. These ones up here. Lust, anger, greed. That hold the sane from approaching him. He's the destroyer of both evil qualities and cosmic creations. when the vice on earthly planets suppress the divinity. Don't you realize you're all false gods together as one? The transhumanists. The destroyer, huh?
That message saying, stay home. The message was filmed at Jefferson's Neuro Intensive Care Unit. The staff says they were just having some fun during what have been stressful times, certainly for them.
Here is the link over here at vigilantcitizen.com for the 5-hour, 15-minute video. It is well worth it, I think, that Mr. Childs did. Just click right here. X Factor winner reveals world secret religion. Big old giant satanic Freemasons, which are kind of kissing cousins with Kabbalah practitioners. Yeah, that's weird. And oh yeah, that's not creepy. That's not weird at all. And we've talked about this before, but there it is, the destroyer, modeled after China. This is a really good article over here at Vigilant Citizen. Control, control, control. Because they're setting up and getting ready for the future exposure that will bring about that. That should totally creep you out, putting 2 and 2 together. This seal back here, or whatever you want to call it, for the Department of Health and Services, along with his, typical NIH. That looks like a bird, an eagle specifically, doesn't it? See? It's weird because the Lord does talk about, where the judgment lands, that the eagles will be to gobble up the carcasses. He talks about that. There's all kinds of scriptures like Job, Proverbs, all over the place, talking about the nature of the eagle and God administering judgment. But I just thought it was really interesting. Do you think that God could be warning us about all this stuff that I'm trying to explain, and that Casey was in some way, at least the people in this chat, were trying to talk about? I don't know. Could be. It was Luke 17:36 or 37. 2 men will be in the field, one taken and the other left. And they answered and said to him, "Where, Lord?" And he said to them, "Wherever the body is, there the eagles will be gathered together." I don't know. Oh my word. This is stupid. So this was 2015 when they were screwing around. But there's tons of videos of recent where they're doing this. That is so goofy and weird. What's really interesting is that all of that stuff that we've been talking about is happening at the same time that this kind of stuff. Right. The greatest bubble of all time in all things. Let's listen. I love this channel. This is one of my favorite channels. Epic Economist. Another apocalyptic warning. Because they are getting ready to collapse this planet. And one wonders if they're going to work their witchcraft magic in the next couple months and get this baby ready by October 10th, because that is what I think might be going on. Feast of Trumpets, Day of the Lord, October 10th. One wonders.
For the past 12 months, global supply chains have been facing a crippling shipping crisis that's only become more acute. But now, global traders are extremely alarmed about the proportion of the chaos the world is about to experience.
Why? Because you're being manipulated. They're manipulating everything. They're the ones that are doing this. And remember, they want to be little gods. So they're pretending to be Jesus, pulling the strings on everything, lying and deception. Do not be deceived. This is them. Make sure you use this time to tell other people to get born again spiritually through placing their faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of the Lamb of God who taketh away the sins of the world. By faith alone, through grace alone. Period. End of story. And do not try to help him save you. Just let him save you. Put your will down. Anyhow, let's find out about the fun that's cracking.
As a new round of lockdowns is severely aggravating the logjam of box ships and containers in Asian ports. Since 2020, a critical shortage of shipping containers has been causing massive delays in the delivery of imported goods from China to Europe and the United States, which...
Oh, yeah, where did they go? Where did they go? We had them, we were using them, there was commerce happening, and then all of a sudden they just disappeared. It was something like 500 million, I believe the figure was. I was listening to Adapt 2030. They're not Christians, but they do work with Ice Age Farmer sometimes, and he's not a Christian either. And I don't know if this channel is Christian, but they do talk about a book that a guy that purports to be a Christian puts out that I disagree with many things he has to say. But anyhow, Adapt 2030 was saying that they took them and they probably stuffed them full of all kinds of food and goodies and whatever and put them down underground. And makes sense. And scripture says in Revelation 6 that they go hide under the ground like a bunch of little cowards and chickens. And then they cry out for the Lamb of God to let the rocks fall on them. What a weird thing, right? Let the rocks fall on us, because the wrath of the Lamb. That is a weird thing to say when you're about ready to get it. Even at that point, they don't repent. But anyhow. Oh, and guess what nation is the only nation on the face of the earth to make more? Who isn't going to? China.
has resulted in widespread shortages and rising prices for businesses and consumers. Today, we are still feeling the impacts of the latest supply chain disruption, when one of the largest container ships in the world, the Ever Given, got stuck in the Suez Canal, blocked the key trading route for almost an entire week.
Yeah, because that doesn't sound fishy or weird at all. Yeah.
Incident alone delayed the delivery of nearly 12% of all products traded globally and sparked a loss of $9 billion a day. But again, businesses and consumers have to brace themselves for yet another shipping crisis. More shortages and more expensive products, as a virus outbreak in southern China is interrupting port services and delaying deliveries. While the rest of the world bounces back from the health crisis, Asian countries are seeing a third wave of virus cases that is seemingly much worse than the previous ones. In the Chinese province of Guangdong, a sudden uptick in new infection cases was recorded during the past week. In response, authorities have decided to completely shut down districts and completely shut down businesses to prevent the virus from spreading uncontrollably. However, major Chinese ports are currently halted, which has been jacking up already soaring shipping costs as waiting times at berth skyrocketed, according to analysts in the shipping industry.
This is Agenda 21 2030 in full effect. This is their planet. This is their stuff. And you're not going to be using it anymore. They got plans for you. This is theirs. Are you breathing their oxygen? Theirs. Belongs to them.
The disruptions in Shenzhen and Guangzhou are absolutely massive. Alone, they would have an unprecedented supply chain impact, said Brian Glick, founder and CEO at supply chain integration platform Chain.io, in an interview with CNBC. In addition to the challenges the global supply chains have already been facing throughout this year, shipping is in absolutely uncharted waters, stressed Glick. Many other industry specialists have also been sharing their concerns about the effects the new outbreak will have on international trade. According to Zheng Wei, chief economist at Pinpoint Asset Management, considering Guangdong province plays a critical role in the global supply chain, the risk of supply chain disruption is higher than ever, and it'll cause export prices and shipping costs to rise even further. J.P. Wiggins, the vice president of corporate development at shipping software firm
Mighty Fix is a subscription company that introduced
DMS, warned that the port logjam in China will spark many more problems on the U.S. supply chains because many of the affected shipments are destined for North America. Expect shortages and out of stock of all the Asian-made products, he alerted. Spiking shipping costs have been a direct effect of the closure of the Chinese ports, but higher freight costs are plaguing the industry since the burst of the sanitary outbreak, skyrocketing by almost 300% over the past 18 months. Small and medium-sized businesses that managed to navigate through the recession are now facing extra hardships to send their products overseas as they can't afford the exorbitant freight rates. Many small and mid-sized shippers are throwing up their hands as the cost of shipping is surpassing the margins on the products they're trying to move, Glick explained. Shipping costs are at all-time highs, with anecdotal quotes coming in at 5 to 10 times historical norms. We've broken through so many price ceilings that nobody can say where this will peak, he highlighted. On the same note, Wiggins exposed that since rates are fluctuating wildly, he is advising shippers to plan on spending twice as much they normally would because it's unclear where prices are going. A recent paper released by Drip Capital titled The Global Shipping Crisis described the detrimental impact of the rising tide of freight costs on small and medium-sized businesses, noting that this extremely competitive environment is burdening these companies with dramatically higher costs and threatening the existence of millions of small businesses around the world. In a recent statement, Pushkar Mukwar, co-founder CEO Drip Capital, said the lack of containers doesn't just increase logistics costs, but it also affects small and medium enterprises' capabilities to fulfill orders and delays payment cycles while stressing their margins. If this issue continues, consumer-led economies are likely to scout for alternative markets with shorter trade routes to cut losses. This could severely harm businesses who are already battling with the health crisis-led economic crisis. The study also outlined how the shipping crunch will likely result in an uneven post-outbreak economic recovery for the world's largest importing and exporting countries. The primary pillars of the crisis are significant fall in the availability of containers, reduced workforce, fewer shipping vessels operating, and erratic movements in demand for various commodities.
Again, America, you are being taken to fourth world nation status. You might go fourth, don't you mean third? No. They have a bone to pick with you, and you're gonna become the poorest of all, because they are going to pull out so many pins and just destroy you. I'm convinced that you are the sacrificial lamb, along with the rest of whatever ends up being a quarter when you read about the four horsemen of the apocalypse in scripture, which now is being classified as false, even though it's the word of God to stand on. So here's one more example. Bye-bye, small and medium businesses. Bye-bye.
Additionally, a lag in the supply of timber to manufacture containers and a rise in the number of containers being scrapped than produced has further increased the cost of the containers. Mukwa added in the statement, according to Drury Shipping Consultants, a global maritime research and consulting company, prices for containers have climbed from $1,486 per 40-foot container, that was May last year, 2020, to $5,472 by May 2021. But as more and more companies have started to look to convert ocean freight shipments to air freight, since they simply cannot afford both the delays and the huge costs, that's likely to further increase shipping costs, as explained Sharina Kamal, Vice President of Intelligence Solutions at Everstream Analytics. This is uncharted territory in terms of carrier profits, in terms of freight rates, in terms of just the level of disruption that the supply chain is seeing, emphasized Simon Heaney, Drury's London-based senior manager for container research. Heaney revealed that he hasn't seen this level of disorder in the market in his career for more than 20 years. He says it's unprecedented in terms of the chaos that we're seeing right now. Meanwhile, reliability, a measure of whether shipments arrive on time, plunged to 34.9% in January of this year, marking the lowest rate on record. Recent reports have been describing that freight forwarders, they're the intermediaries who find routes to ship goods, have been sending panicked emails from companies who are in utter desperation to find space on a vessel to finally be able to ship their products. On top of all that, waiting times for vessels to berth at the Antian International Container Terminal, that's a major port located in Shenzhen province, have escalated from an average waiting time of 0.5 days to 16 days, according to Kamal. Of course, the backlog is already having a compounding effect. Its full impact might be overlooked, argued Volker Wieland, an economics professor at Frankfurt's Goethe University and a member of the German government's Council of Economic Advisers. He says even if the order of magnitude is smaller than estimated, the dynamic builds over a year and has significant effects, he told Bloomberg. That means there's a danger we're underestimating the impact. Now at this point, shipping problems have already spurred catastrophic shortages of products all over the country, ranging from semiconductors and fireworks to chicken, Starbucks drinks, the list goes on. Now, some big companies, including Costco and Chipotle, have announced they'll pass some of the higher freight costs to their customers, while industry analysts told Bloomberg that the prices of low-cost and bulky goods such as toys and cheap furniture is absolutely going to soar in the coming months. This crisis may also affect the delivery of other international products that don't come from China. For instance, according to Jordi Espin, Strategic Relations Manager at the European Shippers Council, olive growers in Europe can no longer afford to export to the United States. The same goes for seafood and fresh produce imported from Latin American countries, as well as grains, coffee, and even toilet paper due to extremely dry weather conditions ravaging crops in Brazil. This news could not have come at a worse time for U.S. supply chains, given that much of California and other key agricultural states are experiencing the worst drought in history. Millions of acres of crops are at risk of being totally destroyed since there's no available irrigation water for the farmers of the region.
Also, their fault. He starts to say, devastating impact, basically.
Devastating shortages that will persist for much longer than anyone could have ever imagined, especially considering that there's still an enormous demand, but supply chains never had the opportunity to actually recover. That's exactly what Simon Heaney, Drury's senior manager for container research, recently outlined. He said that demand volume doesn't seem to be showing any sign of weakness, and there's no let-up yet. No opportunity to get to have a breather and to repair the system, but there's still a lot to be fixed. For that,
So, see, they're manufacturing the conditions through deception that goes along with their philosophy that there's just too much overpopulation and not enough stuff. There's not enough stuff. And so their solution through deception is what the whole first hour of this video was about, how they're going to fix the problem. Fix you. You're the problem.
that very reason, an expert with Business Insider, Kate Duffy, exposed in an interview with Yahoo that the shipping crisis and our in-home problems will have major implications on the Christmas shopping season, meaning that shortages and rising costs may take several months to be resolved and could stretch until 2022. Stan Manders, the chief operating officer of Flexport, stressed that what we're seeing right now is a reflection of the effect of the collapse of several economies triggered by the virus crisis. If you would have asked 100 economists a year ago on this date where the world would go, probably 100 economists would have told us it's going to be doom and gloom. We're going to go into a recession. And that is what it looked like. Global shipping volumes tanked, he wrote. With all things considered, we should all be preparing for the challenges that are looming on the horizon.
Get born again.
Because we are about to enter times of horrific inflation, horrific turbulence in international trade, acute food shortages, explosive prices, extreme weather, and another worldwide wave of new virus infections that can send our economy back to rock bottom with a blink of an eye.
Hence the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are setting up. Okay, and for the final thing here, this guy is Nar. He is a Mormon. He believes at the end he's going to become a god, which is what Mormonism teaches. He is controlled opposition. He is social media adjuster or whatever, engineer, I guess is a better term. And he sometimes he has good info and sometimes he has lousy info, and you got to wade through it. But he has been putting out some very good information, and I want to hear this last 7 minutes and 12 seconds. He says the Great Reset has just had a gigantic development forward, and he does have a very good understanding of this stuff. So I want to hear what's cooking with this, and then we will end this video.
Summary here on Joe Biden is that he is working with the rest of the G7 to launch a Build Back Better world partnership. If you're not following the Great Reset, you must, because you will understand what is going on right now. It's aimed mostly at the developing world. Build Back Better, that's, France is using that slogan. England is using that slogan. Well, that's because they love Joe Biden. No, it didn't come from Joe Biden.
Right.
It came from the Great Reset.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is essentially trying to establish the Great Reset in low-income and middle-income countries, think Africa, First, he made comments yesterday specifically noting the purpose of the plan to compete with China's Belt and Road Initiative.
Oh.
If you don't know what the Belt and Road Initiative is, that's old-timey Chinese speak for the road, the Silk Road that they had coming out of China, and all the trade would come and go up to Europe and the rest of the world. And so now they're calling it their Belt and Road Initiative. And the comments might solidify a few things that I have said in the past. This is a gigantic development on this front. I want you to listen to some of the comments that the president said. He said, "Hey, folks, how are ya? Well, good afternoon. We've just wrapped up what has been an extraordinary, collaborative, and productive meeting. The G7, everyone at the table understood and understands both the seriousness and the challenge we're up against, and the responsibility of our proud democracies to step up and deliver for the rest of the world. That's what the G7 is all about, and rallying the world's democracies to meet the challenges that the world faces." Did you remember what I told you yesterday? He said was the challenge that the world faces, that all of these democracies face. Can they actually respond fast enough like a communist or fascistic country can? Because China, they are public-private partnerships with business. And when I say that, I mean the public, the government really kind of runs it, and once in a while, if one of the CEOs doesn't do what they say, then they publicly execute him. So it's great. It's a nice partnership, and that's what they're working on. I mean, not the execution of CEOs yet, but this is what they're working on. He went on and said, "We have to deliver for people, our people, and for all people, quite frankly, everywhere. And in a pandemic, and maintaining robust support for an equitable, inclusive global economic recovery were top priorities of our nations as we get together." So the top priorities of the G7, equity, which is equal outcomes, inclusive global economic recovery, which means you've got to serve the poor first. And over the past few weeks, the nations of the G7 have affirmed the democratic values that underpin everything we hope to achieve in our shared future.
And by serving the poor first, they mean getting rid of them. Remember, these are the people that want to end your suffering. And of course, you have the Pope, who has now just had his last big meeting with the Buddhists, right? They want to end the suffering. They want to deal with poverty by killing off the poor.
We're committed to put them to work. 1, delivering vaccines and ending the pandemic. 2, driving a substantial inclusive economic recovery around the world. 3, fueling infrastructure development in places that most badly need it. And 4, fighting climate change. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think of the president going overseas and meeting with the G7, I think, wow, I hope they're all committed to a substantial inclusive economic recovery. One that really addresses climate change, and that we not only build our infrastructure, which is costing trillions of dollars, but we also build Africa's infrastructure, because I just think that's really good.
Well,
leave Africa alone.
The only way we're going to meet the continent so thoroughly that we owe it to him. We owe it to him, obviously.
Right. The only way we're going to meet the global threats is by working together with our partners and allies. Last time the G7 met, there was no mention of China, but this time there is a mention of China. And G7 explicitly agreed to call out human rights abuses in Xinjiang and Hong Kong explicitly.
Lies.
2, to coordinate common strategy to deal with China, the non-market policies that undermine competition. They've agreed, and that's underway now, how to do that. 3, to take serious actions against forced labor in solar agriculture and in the garment industries, because that's where it's happening. They've all agreed to do that. By the way, all of these are stated goals from the Economic Forum, World Economic Forum of Great Reset. He said, I feel very strongly. I propose that we have a democratic alternative to the Belt and Road Initiative to build back better.
Wow. And by the way, how much has our credibility been undermined by the fact that our government is running around the world telling everybody how racist we are and how awful we are about race, and that our human
Just the Christians. Not really, but that's the label that they're putting on us.
rights are no better than anybody else's. And then we go to China and try to tell them about their human rights? Yeah, it's not working.
Yeah, China has already said, don't lecture us about human rights. They've already said it. You're the most racist country on the face of the earth. So we have no credibility. But remember, you can't have equity if Americans have the wealth that we currently have. You can't, because we are so far ahead of the rest of the world. You have to tear us down and...
Bingo! What he just said. Bingo! That is what is happening. The supply chain nonsense is about knocking you down, taking your wealth and distributing it to the wealthy and other nations that are eager and hungry to support the types of values that are Rainbow Mafia and many other things that are antichrist in nature. That is precisely what is going on right now.
destroy our economy and also destroy the supremacy of the U.S. dollar.
Yep.
Once you do that, you destroy our wealth, you destroy our dollar, and then the world can think about equity. And it'll be really great because we'll all be equal. I mean, some will be more equal than others, but certainly we'll all be equal.
Well, you get that they mean that there's them, the ultra rich, and then there's you, and all of you are going to be equally poor. That's what that means. These are word games that they play. These are horrible human beings. So anyhow, that is it for now. Thank you so much. God bless.